Hello and welcome to the Johnson County Virtual Public Engagement Session for our Redistricting 2025 project. I am Emily Vincent from the County Manager's Office and the County Project Lead. And today I am joined by our consultant for the project, Andrew Dreschler. Last week, we held 6 in-person public engagement sessions at various locations around the county, but we understand it isn't easy for the public to always attend those in person. And this is why we wanted to provide a virtual option for you all today. Please note that this session is being recorded and will be shared on our website following today's event. If anyone watching us live has friends or family that might be interested, please encourage them to visit our website at jocogov.org/redistricting2025, where they can watch this virtual session and learn more about our project. Before we get started, if anyone has questions during our presentation, please utilize the chat feature and we will keep an eye on questions that come in and answer those. I now would like to turn it over to Andrew, who will lead our presentation for today.
Thank you very much, Emily. As Emily said, if you have any questions during this presentation, feel free to drop them in. We will try to answer them as we're going through the presentation because sometimes questions are relevant to slides that we're showing. Otherwise, we will be sure to answer them at the end if we miss them when they pop up. My name is Andrew Dreschler, and today we're going to be talking about the redistricting in Johnson County. Just a quick agenda. We're going to do a quick introduction of who I am and Haystack DNA. After that, we're going to talk about the overview of the redistricting process and then discuss the timeline that we're working on for Johnson County. Then we'll be discussing the criteria and how that was selected. And then next, we will do the overview of the 3 draft maps that the County Commission, voted on to move on to the public back in May. Finally, the last 2 parts are redistricting software and that you as the public would be able to participate in and either look at the maps in more detail or even draw your own maps. And then finally, just giving you opportunities for public engagement where you can weigh in and talk about what you like about the maps or what changes you may have, etc. The next slide is just a quick introduction on who Haystack DNA is. So we've been around for over 20 years. Our firm has redistricting experience dating back to 1991, redistricting cycle. A couple of the bigger projects that we've done in the last 15 years or so. In 2011, we were the lead mapping consultants for the Arizona Independent Redistricting Commission. There we drew their congressional maps and state legislative maps. Most recently, we engaged in another big project with the California Independent Commission. There we were responsible for drawing the 53 congressional districts, the 80 state House districts, and the 40 state Senate districts. In the 2021 redistricting cycle, we were active in many different states, working with the commissions in Montana, Virginia, and then doing additional work in Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Arizona. And then other work that we've done over 40 municipalities since 2021, counties, water districts, similar sizes to what we're doing in Johnson County. So the overview, why are we doing this? Why are we here? Kansas state law requires that every county reviews their maps every 3 years to make sure that the districts are in balance. We're going to talk about what imbalance means and when we get to the actual maps, but in short, if the districts are found to be out of balance, generally considered 10% deviation, then redistricting must take place to rebalance and get that deviation under 10%. Timing helped inform this decision. So it was back in 2024 when they saw that the districts, the 6 commission districts in Johnson County were going to be over that 10% deviation, and they made the decision to redistrict in 2025. Part of the reason we're doing it in 2025 is because it's an off election year. So there was elections for county commissioners back in 2024. There's going to be elections for the county commissioners and the chair who runs among the whole county in 2026. So by doing it in 2025, we were able to do it to have the least disruption. The last time Johnson County did the maps was in August of 2013. So these current maps that we'll show you in just a second have been in place since for the last 12 years. To make sure that the process was transparent, Haystack was retained by the staff at Johnson County to ensure that we were doing the maps so that there was no backroom deals or anything like that. And we wanted to make sure that the community was involved. So part of the reason that we came out and did this presentation in each of the 6 districts last week was to make sure that the community was able to participate, see what the maps were, ask any questions, and engage in the process. So the timeline. This started earlier this year. Haystack was hired earlier this year, and then by April, we came and we introduced the process, talked about the guidance on the criteria and what the commission wanted to see for draft maps back in the early April meeting. On May 5th, we came and presented a number of draft maps and supporting documents. The supporting documents showed the life of the maps, how long these would potentially last based on population projections. And, the board asked us to come back with a couple different options, which we did on May 22nd. And they then moved forward 3 maps that you're going to see today, maps 1, 2, and 3, to just start the engagement process. These aren't the final maps. They could be the final maps, but it was really an idea to have the public see something, weigh in, and be engaged in the process. As I mentioned, we were in Johnson County and we did this similar presentation in each of the 6 districts last year. And then today we're here for the public engagement session. So thank you for joining us today. If you're watching this live, otherwise, if you're not, as you're watching this recording on the website. So the final steps that are coming up. So come late July, we're going to be back to ask the board if they have a map that they prefer, or they're going to provide additional direction. If they have a map that they prefer, they'll take formal board action on July 31st and adopt the new map, or on the 31st, we'll be presenting an alternative map based on any direction the board gives us on July 24th. If we have to present another map on the 31st, then we're going to be coming back on August 7th for adoption of the final map. The timeline that we have here is geared to be all wrapped up by the beginning of September, because once the maps are done, we're going to be passing these off to the elections department so that they can get ready, so they have enough time to be ready for the elections come next year. The redistricting criteria. So wanted to talk about this. One of the big things that we wanted to talk about the criteria is you can't have everything be included. So there's going to be some that conflict with each other, but generally speaking, the board decided to move forward with this criteria. What does this mean? Population equivalency is making sure that the maps are under this 10% deviation. And we'll talk about what the deviation is and what that means once we see the current map in a couple slides. Logical compact configurations. I like to, the analogy I used being in Johnson County, if you said, I want to draw a map that encompasses each of my favorite barbecue um, places in the county, there would be this snake that goes around the county that captures all of them, and it would be crossing, a lot of different cities. It would be crossing a lot of different areas, and it wouldn't necessarily be compact. So logical configuration is taken into consideration. And then third, using existing voting precincts. So Johnson County has just over 580 voting precincts. You can think of them as pieces to the puzzle. So when we're putting together each of the 6 districts, we're using the voting precincts that are done by the elections department. So the first 3 criteria that I just discussed, that's sort of required as part of the state requirements. From there, we looked at other criteria that we could use, and the board had decided on using where possible. They wanted to keep cities whole, so not trying to avoid splitting up cities as much as possible. They wanted to take into consideration of future growth and population increases. So we worked closely with the Ames department, which is the county's mapping and population department that does a lot of work on this. So we looked at that and we walked through what it would look like, the draft maps that we have, and how long could these last based on future population increases. Wanted to recognize existing boundaries and continuity with the previous district plans, meaning we didn't want to make radical changes. There's some areas where we've done redistricting where we've started with a clean slate. There's other areas where the idea is least change. And then in this situation, we're sort of recognizing the least change. Continuity in office, we wanted to make sure that we were not drawing a district that would put 4 of the commissioners into the same district. And then finally, one thing that we wanted to take into consideration is the number of individuals that move districts. So when we start looking at the drafts, I will talk a little bit more about that. But in short, making sure that the number of people that are moved between the current districts and future districts are minimum. So when we look at the draft maps, one of the first maps we're going to see is the current map of what does Johnson County currently look like. And you can see the 6 districts and major roadways. The colors are cities. So you can see the big purple sort of in the middle is Overland Park. So you can see that currently that Overland Park encompasses 3 different districts. You can see the very top of it being in District 1, the majority of it being, or a good chunk of it being fully encompassed in District 4, and then also there's some in District 3. So the colors are the different cities that exist in Johnson County. The red lines show the current districts, so the thick red lines, so you can see what each of the districts look like. Over on the right, we have what the Ames department has determined as the current population for each of these districts. So you can see District 1, the current population is just over 100,000. Then the next row over, you see 2025 deviation. What does that mean? The ideal population, if you add up the total population that currently exists in Johnson County and divided it by 6, you get the number at the bottom, which is 107,244. So when we talk about deviation, we can see that District 1 is underpopulated by 6,832 people. One key thing when we look and talk about population, this is total population. So anybody who lives in the county, it's not just voters, it's everybody, babies on up to seniors. When we talked about the deviation earlier, you can see the column on the far right where it says 2025 dev percentage. That's 2025 deviation percentage. So you can see the percent of how each district is underpopulated or overpopulated. So you have District 1, short population by 6,832. So the deviation, so they're underpopulated from the ideal by 6.37%. The district that has the most population is District 3. They're overpopulated by 4,988, or 4.65%. So to get the total deviation, you're adding the district, the number from the least, making it a positive, and adding that to the district that is over by the most. So you're taking the 6.37, adding it to 4.65, and the number you get is down at the bottom in the blue box, 11.02%. And what this number means is it just means we talked about earlier how the state requires Johnson County and all counties to look at these districts, look at their districts and make sure that the population deviation is under 10%, generally speaking. So when the Johnson County staff looked at this last year and it was determined that they were going to be over 10%, that is when they started the process to make sure that we could do redistricting in 2025. So now we are going to be turning to each of the three draft maps. I'm going to talk a little bit about them. So if you remember the criteria that we had above, as I said earlier, sometimes it conflicts and you can't hit perfect on all the criteria. So looking at draft map 1, the primary criteria that we achieved is a minimum amount of individuals moving between districts and a small population deviation. So what does that mean? The total population deviation among the districts is about 4.4%. There's a total of just under 19,000 individuals that are moved from their current district to a new district. We achieved that there was no new city splits. And then we talked about the life of the map. How long will this map last? Is approximately 5 to 8 years. So now we get to see the map. There's a lot of information on here. So we'll just start with the map itself on the left-hand side of the screen. And it looks similar to the map, the current districts that you saw before. Where there's changes, the new districts are going to be the blue lines. The current districts are the red lines. To help you get a better idea of where population and what precincts shifted, you can look at the map over on the right-hand bottom corner, and you can see a couple colored blotches there. So on the top, you can see the blue precincts that were moved, and those were moved from District 4, and they were moved into District 1. As we talked about earlier, District 1 was underpopulated, so that is one of the considerations that we took into play here. We looked at the orange is areas from District 3 that moved into District 4 because we took population away. And then finally, what we did is we looked at the yellow areas is population that we took from voting precincts that we took from District 6 and we moved them into 5. So the new deviation is just the 4.39%. So if you look at the chart in your upper right-hand corner, you can see we're adding the District 3, which is currently underpopulated by 2.99%. We're adding that to the district that is a little overpopulated, District 2, by 1.4%, to come up with a total of 4.39%. Some may ask, why is District 3 so underpopulated? It's partially, because of future growth that we see. We feel like they're going to be those areas down there are going to have the most population added to them over the next few years. Um, Finally, the one last thing on here is we talked about sort of the wording in the middle, the text that you see in the middle, the total population moved sort of in the top center of the slide here is 18,565. Population that moved districts that voted that we're planning to vote in 2028, but will be shifting to 2026 is we have 11,319 people. So what does that mean? That means that those 11,319 individuals, if they were of voting age and were eligible voters, anybody in there voted last year, and then they're going to be voting again they instead of waiting 4 years, so if they voted in 2024, they would normally wait to 2028. They get the opportunity to vote again in just 2 years, so 2026. Of course, the chair is up next year, so everybody gets to vote for the chair, but then these individuals also, if they're voters, get to vote for their commissioner as well. One of the things we wanted to avoid is anybody who was supposed to vote in 2026 and then got pushed out to 2028. So meaning that they would have 6 years between opportunities to vote for their individual commissioner. We're happy to say that no population was moved to affect those individuals. And then we had 7,246 individuals that moved districts that are on the same voting schedule as they were before. All right, so that's draft map 2, draft map 1. Draft map 2, I'll go through this a little bit quicker since I spent some extra time explaining everything. So primary criteria achieved in draft map 2, the least number. So we talked about the 18,000 individuals or almost 19,000 individuals that were moved last time. This one is just over 12,000. And then where possible, keep cities whole. So there's one area where you'll see where Leawood is currently, divided between districts 1 and 3, and we put that all in one district. So the population deviation based on this map is just over 6%. As I mentioned, we had just over 12,000, just under 13,000 population that moved between districts, and we were able to achieve one less city split. In terms of the life of the map, we feel like this, based on population projections, will last approximately 8 to 10 years. Next, we're going to see the map. And again, where I'm just going to start is just jumping right in over on the bottom right and looking at that box. So you can see that blue area is that is the bigger blue area down on in the map. That's part of Leawood that currently is in District 3, and one of the criteria was to keep cities whole, so we moved that all into District 1. District 1 also picks up a little area in the upper right-hand side of northeast side of District 4, that little blue area up there. So that goes from 4 to 1. District 4 is going to pick up some population, the orange population that is currently in 3, and it's going to go to 4. And then finally, you see some yellow precincts that were moved from 6 into 5. So again, overall population that was moved is just under 13,000. We have about 12,000 individuals that voted last year that would be voting again next year. And then about 1,000 individuals that are going to be on the same voting precinct. And again, total deviation of this map is 6.45%. While this deviation is higher than the last map, based on the population projections, we do feel like it will be a little bit more even. That's why this map will last approximately 8 to 10 years, whereas draft map 1 was in the 5 to 8 year range. Finally, we have draft map 3. The primary criteria achieved is a small population deviation. So we look at this and we have just over 5% population deviation based on the population projections. It's going to have more individuals moving. So just over 33,000 individuals are going to be moving. There's no additional city splits. And we feel that this map, based on population projections, are going to last 8 to 10 years. So looking at the actual map, you're going to see more colors changing. We want to go to the map. Thank you. There we go. So as we discussed, we have more individuals that moved. So you're going to see more over on the map on the right-hand side. You're going to see more areas that are colored and more voting precincts that are moved. So again, quick recap, the blue area at the top of District 4, that's moving from 4 to 1. The orange area was in District 3, and that's moving from 3 to 4. The purple area, or the purple area that you see on this area is actually moving from District 5 into District 3, and then the yellow area is currently District 6, and that's moving into 5. So that is how you get, these are the changes that you're seeing in all of these maps. And again, population deviation, the District 1 is going to be overpopulated by 2.78%. And then District 5 is going to be one of the, or I'm sorry, District 3 is going to be the one that's, District 6 is the one that's going to be the most under populated, but both districts, 6 and 3, we anticipate growth in those areas. That's why we feel like this map will last approximately 8 to 10 years. All right. Now that we looked at the maps, we wanted to talk a little bit about the software. We are using Dave's Redistricting app, also known as DRA. It's an online, nonpartisan free redistricting platform. It was established by a couple of individuals, and it's a free platform. They created this back in the 2011 district, made some great additions, and it was widely used by many different groups and individuals and mapping consultants in 2021. Some of the data that we're using, and this is one of the nice things about Dave's, is that they were able to use the 2024 voting precincts for the mapping to make sure that we're compliant. We're using the Johnson County population estimates, and then there's going to be a number of there's a user guide and a video link to DRA that you're on the Johnson County Redistricting website. And then, while we did have tutorials and access to computers available at our public engagement sessions, so individuals were able to do that. Because we're not there today, we're going to just show you a quick video that goes into this. Emily, I'm not hearing volume on my end. You might have to unmute.
Sorry about that. We'll start over.
All right, great.
Line mapping platform. Hello, welcome to this video guide for viewing and editing maps in Dave's Redistricting application. This tutorial is part of the 2025 Johnson County Board of Commissioners redistricting process. Dave's Redistricting app is a free, nonpartisan online mapping platform for creating and sharing redistricting plans. Members of the public from Johnson County are encouraged to use Dave's Redistricting to both monitor and participate in the redistricting process this site. To begin, go to the Johnson County Redistricting website located at www.jocogov.org/redistricting 2025. From there, you'll find information about the redistricting process, a public input form for submitting your own map or general comments, and links to the current and draft maps in Dave's Redistricting. To view or edit any of these maps, simply click on the links, which will bring you to the Dave's Redistricting website. As you can see here, we're starting with current districts as our starting point. Now, in order to simply view the map and explore it, you don't need to create an account. However, if you would like to make any changes, you will need to log into Dave's Redistricting. In order to do so, simply click on the main page. You'll be prompted to add an email and a password. You may need to verify the account, but Dave's will not sell your information to any third parties and will not spam you with any unwanted emails. Once you've logged in, you will now notice that you have the opportunity to click on this Make Editable Copy button. Doing so will ask you, do you want to duplicate this map? Say yes. This will bring you to the My Maps page. If you give it a second to load, it'll say revision is duplicated. Here you see we have a copy of the existing template. Select that and rename it. In this case, I'm just going to call it JoCo Sample. Click Submit, and it renames the map. If you double click on the map, it'll bring you back to the map we were previously looking at. Give it a second to load if the Dave's Redistricting website is going slow, which it is in this case. Once the map has loaded, you'll now have the option to move population from one district to the other. Now again, to just move around the map, you simply use the pan hand button. It'll allow you to zoom in or out and move around. If you actually want to begin to move population, you're going to use the paintbrush tool up here. So first, you'd want to select your target district. This is the district that population will be moving into. In this case, we've got District 1 selected. As you can see, currently the district is underpopulated by 6,832 people. And so we can move population from District 2, which is overpopulated by 1,501 people. To do that, again, we'll click the paintbrush, and then we can see over here on the right-hand side how much population is in each one of these precincts. So just selecting a precinct sample, you can see that this moved 652 people from District 2 into District 1. Now, District 1 is still underpopulated, but to a lesser extent by 5,180. And District 2 went from being overpopulated to now being slightly underpopulated at 150. If you wanted to undo that change, you can either click the undo button, or you can change the target district. In this case, changing from target district 1 to target district 2 would allow you to move that back. Now, once you've gone through and created a map that you're happy with, we encourage you to share it with the commission. The easiest way to do so is simply to click the share map button up here. If you do so, you'll be given a link to this map. You can copy that link and then go to the Johnson County Redistricting website again, and you'll find a link to a public input form. Here, you just need to enter your contact information, name, email, phone number, and address. And then you can add the link that you've created and any additional information you'd like us to consider as we evaluate the mapping options. Thank you very much and have a great day. Hello.
And just wanted to say thank you to Willie Desmond, who's did the video, and he's on from the Haystack team. He's with us today. And then we just have a couple final slides, just additional public engagement opportunities. There's a number of ways that you can participate in this. The best way is to go to the Johnson County Redistricting website. And then there's a public engagement form. You saw it at the end of the video, where you can weigh in and talk about what you like about any of the maps or dislike about any of the maps. Or the other way, as we just saw, you have the opportunity to go on and do a map yourself. So the online mapping tool allows you to review any of the draft maps and really scroll down and look at your specific neighborhoods if you'd want, or any other neighborhoods, but it also gives you the opportunity to create your own map if that's what you desire, and you can submit it to the commission. All right, that concludes our presentation today. We are around to answer any questions that if you have any, by all means, you can drop them into the chat box, which is at the bottom of the screen. Just feel free to go there and type in your questions, and we'll be sticking around for a little bit to answer any questions or engage with anybody on anything that we presented today.
Well, nothing yet in the chat, Andrew, but thank you very much for your presentation today. As Andrew said, we will be staying on. And we'll continue to monitor the chat. We'll just see if anyone else hops on before we close out this webinar at 1. But if you have no questions, feel free to go. Just to remind you that if you'd like to learn more information, check out our website, and we will be posting this recording later today. So if you have any friends or family that you think might be interested, they can watch this video anytime after today. Thank you all.